What if I told you there was a team that won the World Series, only to completely collapse the very next season, and then come back to win it all again? Would you believe me? Well, for the San Francisco Giants, this didn't just happen once, but twice. So how does a team reach the absolute peak of baseball, fall from grace almost immediately, rise back to the top, fall yet again, and still manage to win 3 World Series titles in just 5 years? And more importantly, why did they miss the playoffs entirely in the seasons between their championships? Before the miraculous 2010 championship, Giants baseball had been among the darkest it had been in decades. Just a few years prior, all-time great Barry Bonds retired without a World Series title, and the team was in the midst of 4 consecutive losing seasons. That being said, 2009 actually brought promise to the club. Second-year third baseman Pablo Sandoval took a huge leap forward with 74 extra base hits. Tim Lincecum continued to dominate on the mound, winning his 2nd consecutive Cy Young Award, and collectively, Giants pitchers combined for the highest ERA plus figure at 120. But when all was said and done, they finished outside of the playoff picture by 4 games. The biggest reason why was attributed to their offensive production. In fact, the lineup ranked bottom 5 in runs scored. So with this in mind, everyone understood that if the team assessed this need during the offseason, they could be back competing for the division crown. And there were plenty of guys available to make it happen. Outfielder Matt Holliday had been among the game's elite sluggers, launching 119 home runs over the previous 4 seasons. Jason Bay, another accomplished outfielder, was coming off a 7th place MVP finish, and then there was Sean Figgins, a versatile third baseman who could immediately slide into any team's leadoff spot. These 3 were the big ticket bats of their class, but instead of pursuing them, the Giants opted to go a different route, bringing back Benji Molina and Juan Uribe, while adding free agents Aubrey Huff and Mark DeRosa. In many people's eyes, these moves were nowhere close to enough to get the offense in top 10 discussion, but they didn't need to be, because with their pitching staff, any sort of improvement immediately elevated them to a 90-win team. It definitely helps that midway through the season, their number 1 prospect started to make a name for himself.
He hits a high drive to left. This baby is way back, out of here!
First big league homer, and it was not a cheapie.
After starting the season in the minor leagues, catcher Buster Posey was recalled at the end of May. At this time, the club was struggling, losing 6 of their last 7 games. But with his stellar defense behind the plate and bat which provided both a high average and power, the Giants returned to their winning ways. After starting the season a mere 3 games over 500 through June, the team exploded into playoff contention with a monster July and September, winning a combined 38 out of 56 games. But the division was still up for grabs entering the final game of the season.
We've got another packed house here at AT&T Park. Game number 162 on the schedule.
At 91-70, the San Francisco Giants clung to a 1-game lead over the San Diego Padres, which meant a victory would clinch the division, while a loss could spell the end of their World Series aspirations. With that in mind, they left everything on the field. Jonathan Sanchez shoved on the mound.
And there was some anxiety in the crowd.
And Tejada out swinging.
He finished that off nicely, put it in a great place, and gets a big strikeout.
The offense got to Matt Latos early.
Up the middle, 1-0 Giants. Aubrey Huff, left center field. A long run for Denarfia. He dives, he can't get it. Here comes Sanchez. He's going to score. Off into second with a double.
And the bullpen was lights out.
On the ground, Sandoval steps on third. There's one. That's it. Double play.
2 big outs on 1 big pitch.
Through a total team effort, the Giants shut out the Padres to clinch their first division title in 7 years.
The Giants are champions in the National League West. And let the party begin.
Naturally, this playoff berth felt different. They no longer featured the game's most feared slugger. Instead, this team was built on dominant pitching, backed by an offense stitched together from cast-offs and overlooked pieces. And together, they were determined to deliver San Francisco its first World Series title. Standing in their way to begin it all were the Atlanta Braves. A fundamentally sound club built on strong defense and above all, a dominant bullpen, which featured veteran closer Billy Wagner alongside electric rookie arms Johnny Venters and Craig Kimbrell. But with that being said, they were beatable. Their offense, which was strong throughout the season, struggled in September, averaging just over 3 runs per game, which meant with Lincecum on the mound for Game 1, they were in for a long night.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Strikes out the side and 5 in a row.
In 2010, Lincecum failed to reach the same heights as he did the previous 2 years with a 3.43 ERA, but entering the postseason, he was back to his best. In his 6 starts leading into October, he posted a 1.94 ERA while striking out batters at a 34% clip. He was at his very best, and he looked to continue this dominant spell with a Game 1 victory.
Giants beat the Braves 1-0. A brilliant pitching gem by Tim Lincecum, and the Giants take a 1-0 lead over the Braves.
14 strikeouts across 9 shutout innings, a performance which left both managers in awe. Everything just seemed to fall into place for the playoff debutant, and in Game 2, the Giants continued to look unbeatable, as Pat Burrell launched them in front.
Fly ball hit deep to left field. Way back, it's gone. Pat Burrell with a 3-run homer. 3-0, the Giants lead here in the first inning.
His towering shot to deep left gave the Giants an early 3-0 lead, and the following inning they tacked on another from an unlikely producer.
Ball up the middle, through into center field, and a base hit. Scoring is Cody Ross, and Matt Cain helps his own cause with a single, and the Giants now lead it 4-0.
The offense had already broken through, and Cain was lights out. It was the perfect start to the series from the Giants' perspective. But before they could get comfortable, the Braves started to chip away.
It's Brian McCann, and McCann hits one out to left center field, and that's going to drop for a base hit. Derek Lee will round third, score easily.
At this moment, the score was still firmly in their favor at 4-1. However, the bullpen, which was indestructible throughout the regular season, started to crack.
And a slow hit bounding ball to third. Sandoval's only play is the first safe at first base in the 8th inning. And a line drive left field, and chasing it and unable to get it is Cody Ross. 2 runs will score, and into second with a double is Alex Gonzalez, and the Braves have rallied to tie the game at 4 apiece.
After the first couple of frames, the Giants' offense looked ready to end it early, but from innings 3 through 9, their bats went a combined 4 for 25 with 10 strikeouts, while the Braves' hitters only got better as the game matured. For this reason, it felt like Atlanta was bound to come out on top.
And a fly ball hit deep to right field, and this ball is out of here and over the seats. Rick Ankiel into the Cubby Cove, and Rick Ankiel has given the Braves a 5-4 lead.
It wasn't just a home run. It was a moonshot into the dark October sky, sailing all the way into the legendary McCovey Cove, and with it sealed victory for the away side.
And going out as Gonzalez calls for it, makes the catch, and the game is over. And the Atlanta Braves overcome a 4-run deficit and beat the Giants 5-4 in 11 innings.
Heading to Atlanta with the series tied was a disappointing reality for the Giants. To make matters worse, Game 3 looked destined to be another late blow-up.
And a drive down the right field line, and this one is going to be a home run. Eric Hinsky, just fair, and the Braves lead it 2-1.
Clinging on to a slim 1-0 lead, they rested easy as Sergio Romo emerged from the pen. However, after a 6-pitch battle which included multiple foul balls, Eric Hinsky got the better of him with a go-ahead 2-run shot, giving the Giants offense just 3 outs to rescue the game.
And so now we go to the 9th inning, and with Billy Wagner, the veteran closer, unable to go with a strained oblique, here is Craig Kimbrell, who is the closer and facing Cody Ross. The first pitch is a strike.
It was up to the 8-9-1 hitters to save the day against one of the most dominant pitchers in the sport in Kimbrell. For the season, he allowed just 1 earned run in 21 appearances, and so far in the series, he had struck out 5 of the 7 batters he had faced. which meant if they had any chance of stealing the victory, they would have to remain calm in the presence of his blazing fast velocity, hoping he would make a few mistakes.
Here's the 3-2 pitch. Ball 4. Ground ball up the middle and a base hit. So Sanchez with a clutch 2-out single, the tying run in scoring position, and the go-ahead run at first.
Travis Ishikawa and Freddie Sanchez both managed to reach base, but with Kimbrel retiring 2 batters in the process, the Giants were down to their final out.
And so that'll be all. Mike Dunn, the left-hander, will come in to face Aubrey Huff, the top run producer for the Giants.
After a down year in 2009, in which his OPS fell by over 200 points and his homers more than halved, Huff was back to his best, leading the team in most major offensive categories. But in this at-bat, they needed another moment of magic to keep their World Series hopes alive.
And a line drive to right field. It's going to drop in front of Hayward, and they're going to send in Ishikawa. Here's the throw to the plate, not in time, and the Giants have tied it 2-2.
Against all odds, the game was tied. But with the runners still in scoring position, they had their sights set on more.
And it reaches out at one through the legs of Conrad into center field. The run will score, and going to third base with 2 here in the ninth, lead it 3-2.
In the biggest moment of Brooke Conrad's career, he came up with his worst blunder, letting the lead slip, and so too the series.
And a chopper to third. The throw across in time, and the Giants have won the series. The Giants are going to the NLCS for the 5th time in their history and look to win their 4th West Coast pennant.
From 3 outs to an elimination game to clinching it right then and there, an unlikely turnaround that gave the clubhouse immense confidence. But their next round opponents wouldn't be so forgiving. The reigning World Series champions showed no signs of slowing down, with 97 regular season wins, and a divisional series sweep over the Cincinnati Reds, which included Roy Halladay's infamous no-hitter.
Halladay is 1 strike away, the 0-2, a bouncer, Ruiz, in time! Roy Halladay has thrown a no-hitter!
Elite starters Roy Oswalt and Cole Hamels complemented him in the rotation, while Brad Lidge provided a dependable arm in the back end of their bullpen. In other words, they were a staff ready to compete against the likes of the Giants.
Before we get out of here, guys, I want some predictions. Who wins the series and why, Mitch Williams?
I'm going to take the Philadelphia Phillies for the simple fact that I don't think a pitching staff as good as even San Francisco's is can hold this lineup down over a 5-game series.
Tim Lincecum versus Roy Halladay, Jonathan Sanchez versus Roy Oswalt, and Matt Cain versus Cole Hamels. We were spoiled with pitching matchups, but in the end, the Phillies' arms couldn't compete.
Here's the 1-1. That is hit well into left field, back at the wall, and Cody Ross has gone deep to put the Giants on top. And he shoots one into left field. You called it home run, his 2nd of the night. Here's Uribe flying one into right. Back at the wall. This ball is gone for a home run. Juan Uribe has gone deep. And with that, the San Francisco Giants lead Game 6 in the 8th.
There were many players that came through on the offensive side, but Cody Ross stood above the rest, batting .350 with 3 home runs during the series, rightfully earning himself MVP as the Giants punched their ticket into the Fall Classic.
3-2 pitch. Got him looking, and the Giants win the pennant.
For the first time since their heartbreaking Game 7 loss in the 2002 finals, the Giants were back on the game's biggest stage, and this time they were keen on finishing the job.
Will the city of San Francisco finally win its first ever World Series? Or can these American League champs take home the title for the first time ever? It's time to find out as the Texas Rangers battle the San Francisco Giants in Game 1 of the World Series.
It was a battle between 2 starved franchises, and if the Giants had any chance of coming out victorious, there were 3 bats they would have to watch out for.
And Nelly fires away, deep drive, right field, go home, ball game! 2-2 to the longtime Angel, Vlad Guerrero, and he steps into one, drives it to left. That ball is up, that ball is off the top of the wall and out. Home run for Vlad Guerrero.
Deep right by Hamilton. Back toward that wall, and the Rangers are on the board.
And what makes him so difficult to pitch to, he didn't even get that ball. That was off the end of the bat. He was able to flip it over that right field wall.
The three of Josh Hamilton, Vladimir Guerrero Sr., and Nelson Cruz led the Rangers offense to the 5th most runs in the sport. But in a twist few expected, it was a Giants band of misfits who came out firing on all cylinders.
That's in the air to left center field, and the Giants have their first lead of the night this postseason. Line drive, base hit to center. Here comes Sanchez, and it's a 2-run Giant lead. Another hit. Here comes Pearl. Another run. It's 5-2. High fly ball to left. Uribe shoots one out.
An uncharacteristic 11-run outburst saw the Giants take the opener, and surprisingly, the offense continued their stellar play at the following night.
Here's the 0-1 pitch. Renteria launches one into left. Down the line into the corner. Edgar Renteria's going deep. Runner at second, one out. And a little flare into right center field. That's a hit. Here comes Ross. The throw by Cruz. Not in time. 1-2. Line drive, base hit into left. It's 9-0.
It wasn't a lineup which screamed elite. Freddie Sanchez hit second with a 102 OPS plus, 33-year-old Pat Burrell was the cleanup hitter, and catcher Cody Ross was right behind him. But despite this, they were pushing runs across the plate with ease. At this moment, it looked like the Giants were unstoppable, on the brink of fulfilling the franchise's ultimate goal of bringing a World Series title to San Francisco. But for the first time in the series, the Rangers were able to neutralize their bats.
Colby Lewis got him with it. 0-2. Double play ball to Kinsler. Flip out over the first out. 4-6-3. Strikes out for the 3rd time tonight.
Rangers starter Colby Lewis hadn't pitched in MLB for almost 3 years. But in 2010, he was the unsung hero of the Rangers staff, tossing a .372 ERA in 32 starts. And in the World Series, he was able to get his team back on track with a dominant outing, lasting 7 2/3 innings while surrendering only 2 runs.
Game over. Phillies slams the door.
The series was still firmly in the Giants' hands, but with their defeat, the momentum started to shift, with many questioning whether or not their victory was the start of a comeback, or a consolation prize in a series otherwise dominated by the National League's best.
Aubrey Huff hits one a ton into right. Down the line, this ball is gone for a 2-run home run. Flied into center for Hamilton, back. Carrying at the wall, it's a home run. The 2-0 is hit high in the air to left center field. Back is Murphy on the run. 3-run home run Renteria, and a 3-0 San Francisco lead in the 7th. Here it is. Struck him out. And for the first time since 1954, the Giants are world champions.
As with any World Series team, their success was a unified effort from March to October. But there were a couple players I'd like to highlight, and I'm not talking about the obvious choices like Tim Lincecum or Buster Posey. No, I'm talking about Edgar Renteria and Cody Ross. 2 guys who had no business leading a team to a championship, but somehow found a way to do so. But first, a quick word from today's sponsor, BetterHelp. Over the past few years, I've started to learn that success isn't always linear. I actually found that out the hard way when I had just made it to the professional level in soccer before I dislocated my knee twice in 8 months. And recently with YouTube, I definitely felt a bit burnt out by the end of last year, and I honestly think some of the content suffered. But that's what happens. Burnout, setback, injuries, it's all part of the process. What matters matters is how you adapt. For me, that actually meant talking through it instead of trying to push through alone. That's what I like about BetterHelp. Therapy gives you space to work through what's been holding you back and make meaningful, positive strides forward. And getting started is easy. You answer a short questionnaire, and based on your preferences, they match you with a licensed therapist who fits what you're looking for. And if it doesn't feel like the right fit, you can switch therapists at no extra cost. If you'd like to get started, click the link in the description or go to betterhelp.com/greenlight for 10% off your first month. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's video. Now back to the content. Emotions were running high as the 2011 spring season got underway. In fact, many media outlets predicted back-to-back championships, while others were wary, citing the fact that the team had received career years from most of their lineup, and that their off-season acquisition of Miguel Tejada wouldn't be enough to combat the lineup's eventual regression. But even they couldn't have expected just how far the offense would fall, and there were a multitude of reasons why, with the most glaringly obvious one being their inability to stay healthy. Guys like Freddie Sanchez, Pablo Sandoval, Andres Torres, and Cody Ross all spent considerable time on the disabled list, but none of those injuries came close to the devastation of losing Posey.
Cousins is going to test him. Posey can't handle it, and Posey gets clobbered. Posey is hurt, and the Giants' only focus now is Buster Posey.
The reigning Rookie of the Year suffered a fractured left fibula and 3 torn ligaments in his ankle, which required season-ending surgery. In total, the Giants sent 25 players on the disabled list, the most by any team since 1987. They tried their best to fix this issue with the acquisition of outfielder Carlos Beltran, but ultimately it was too little too late, as they missed the playoffs in the final week of the season, which meant their offseason mission was clear: upgrade the offense. If they could do so, they weren't far off from another deep playoff run. So the front office got to work, addressing this area of need with more emphasis than the previous year by acquiring 2 outfielders. The first being Melky Cabrera, who was coming off a career offensive season with 67 extra base hits and 20 stolen bases. Then, just a month later, the team welcomed speedster Angel Pagan, who slid in perfectly at the top of their lineup. And to finish off their offensive makeover, they acquired Hunter Pence and Marco Scudero. With these 4 new bats, the Giants' offense looked far more threatening, but no one made an impact quite like Posey.
Posey crushes one to center field. Niger Morgan is looking up, and this one is way out of here. My goodness, what a home run from Posey. Well, that one smacked off the scoreboard. I don't know if I've ever seen a home run here that was hit like that.
After missing more than 100 games in 2011, Posey returned with a vengeance, launching 24 home runs, leading the league with a .336 batting average, and providing elite defense behind the plate. So with all of this considered, it came as no surprise when he was awarded the National League MVP.
The NL MVP is in, and it is indeed Buster Posey of the San Francisco Giants. And what a career he's had. With 3 years in the major leagues, a Rookie of the Year in 2010, as well as a World Series championship. The 2011 season kind of got erased from him, and then here we go, 2012.
With Posey leading charge for the offense, the Giants were able to secure the division with 94 wins. But this time things were different. Before, they were built around elite pitching. In 2012, however, that actually wasn't the case, finishing 20th with an ERA plus 4% lower than league average. For this reason, many were torn on whether or not they would be able to take down the 97-win Cincinnati Reds.
As we are set for Game 1 of the National League Division Series, the Cincinnati Reds, winners of the National League Central, against the champs from the West, the San Francisco Giants.
Giants fans were excited to see them back in the postseason after missing out the previous year. But to start off, it was all Cincinnati. They out-hit them.
And a breaking ball hit high in the air, deep left field. That ball's got some carry, and that ball is gone.
Out-pitched.
On his A game tonight, 7 shutout, only 1 hit allowed and 1 walk.
And cruised to a 2-0 series advantage.
And a ground ball to short. Valdez will make the play, and the Cincinnati Reds take care of business on the road. They win 2 in a row from the San Francisco Giants.
All of a sudden, the Giants' season was nearing a premature end, and their job would become a whole lot more difficult, with Homer Bailey slated to take the mound. In 2012, he broke out with an excellent first half and an even better second, ending the season with a 1.85 ERA in his final 7 starts, with the highlight coming against the Pittsburgh Pirates on September 28th when he tossed the 16th no-hitter in Reds history. For the Giants, they sent out an underappreciated arm in Ryan Vogelsong, but he had his flaws. In the second half, his ERA jumped by more than 2 runs. Bearing this in mind, the Reds remained heavy favorites, a thought which only became more intensified with a first-inning run.
Here comes Cozart. No throw from Pence, and the Reds take the first lead again.
Vogelsong would end up striking out Scott Rowland on 8 pitches to end the threat, but first blood had already been drawn, and with Bailey dealing,
Homer Bailey. And he strikes out Pablo Sandoval.
Odds were shifting heavily in the home team's favor, but by the 3rd inning, Bailey started to lose his command.
Oh, Bailey drills Blanco. The Giants at this point will take him any way they can.
A Gregor Blanco hit by pitch got the frame started, and Brandon Crawford kept the rally going with great discipline.
And there goes Blanco. And the pitch mishandled by Hannigan, ball 4, and now first and second with nobody out.
Following Crawford's walk, the Giants had something brewing, but with Vogelsong now up, his at-bat was crucial in determining how the rest of the inning would play out.
Vogelsong squares, gets it down. Bailey will take the sure out, and an excellent sacrifice. Vogelsong advances Blanco and Crawford.
Everyone knew a bunt was coming, and yet he was able to execute perfectly, which allowed Pagan to tie the score with the deep fly ball.
Stubbs has a great arm. He'll make the catch. The throw comes into third base, and the Giants tie it up. A sacrifice fly after the sacrifice bunt.
A hit by pitch, walk, bunt, and sac fly. Not the most ordinary way to score a run, but nonetheless, it brought the Giants level. A crucial response because over the next few innings, Bailey gave up little wiggle room.
And a strike call to the Heat. And a swing and a miss. 2-2. And down he goes.
But fortunately for the Giants, so too did Vogelsong.
Got him. Ryan Vogelsong strikes out Cozart. He's racked up 5 punch-outs. And hanging in there step for step with Homer Bailey.
Inning after inning, the two teams traded zeros. It wasn't until the 10th before the Giants finally started to build a threat.
Posey rips one to right field, a base hit. And a little roller going to sneak through. Pence, 2 on for the Giants.
This was the closest anyone had come to scoring since the 3rd inning, but following back-to-back punch-outs,
1-2, and a swing and a miss. Can take the lead here. Base hit and a swing and a miss.
Giants don't score, they'll probably have some phone calls about this tomorrow. Wow.
leaving it up to Joaquin Arias to keep the rally alive. Throughout his career, he had been seen as nothing more than defensive depth with a subpar bat. But in this instant, he didn't need to do much.
And that gets by Hannigan, and both runners will advance.
The pass ball allowed both runners to move 90 feet closer, and 3 pitches later, their defense continued to unravel.
Bouncing ball, rolling off the chest, bobbles, thrown to first. Not in time! A run scores! The Giants have the lead!
It's safe to say that Scott Rowland found his way into the Hall of Fame in major part to his elite defense at third. Yet he had just cost his team victory and handed the Giants an opening back into the series.
2 balls, 2 strikes. And a broken bat. Bouncer to the mound. Romo recovers, throws in time, and the Giants live to see another day. They will force a Game 4.
Their Game 3 win gave them immense hope, because not only did they live to fight another day, but it gave them a clear path back to the World Series, their elite pitching. Sure, it wasn't up to standard during the regular season, but for the most part, it was the same cast of arms from their first World Series title. If they were able to rekindle their past success, a second championship would be possible.
And a swing and a foul tip right into the middle. The catcher, a strikeout. Tim Lincecum coming up big for the Giants. And a swing and a miss. Runners go again, and it is a strike call. Throw to third in time. A strike him out, throw him out, double play.
In games 4 and 5, the Giants pitching staff was determined to prove they were still the league's best. especially their bullpen, which combined for 9 2/3 innings pitched and only 2 runs allowed. Stellar production which allowed them to complete the reverse sweep.
And a swing and a miss, and Romo strikes out Rowan. The San Francisco Giants will advance to the NLCS. What a comeback. The first team ever in division play in the National League to overcome a 2-0 deficit and advance to the NLCS.
Everyone thought they were dead in the water once the series shifted to Cincinnati, but with their backs against the wall, it brought out the best from their pitching staff, which allowed just 8 runs over the last 3 games. And poetically, the return of their elite pitchers were met with one of the most potent lineups in the NLCS.
And he hits a long one to left. Stay fair. It's a gunner.
That ball was crushed.
Carlos Beltran, Yadier Molina, Matt Holliday, David Freese. The list went on and on, giving the Giants pitchers a handful early.
Freese hits it into the gap in left center field. This ball is gone. 2-run home run, David Freese. Here is a 2-2 pitch. High fly ball to right. He's in the lineup now. 2-1, St. Louis. Up the middle, that's a base hit. Jay will round third, head home, and it's 1-0 St. Louis as Holliday delivers in the first.
They tried their best, but they still allowed 18 runs in the opening 4 games to put them in a hole down 3-1.
Foul ball, Carpenter is there. Cardinals win game 4 and lead 3-1, an 8-3 final tonight.
Facing elimination was a daunting reality, but they could take light in the fact that they took 3 in a row against the Reds. Knowing this, the Cardinals didn't feel safe despite their big lead. And the man tasked with starting their comeback was Barry Zito. Prior to his move across town, Zito was among the game's most consistent aces, finishing top 10 in innings pitched, strikeouts, and ERA plus from 2000 to 2006. But after signing his record-breaking 7-year, $126 million contract, his production dipped tremendously. In fact, he was left off the team's postseason roster during their championship run. And in his first playoff start in 2012, he didn't inspire many with 2 earned runs in only 2 2/3 innings. But with the weight of his entire team resting on his shoulders, he was able to turn back the clock.
0-1. Shattered back, might be 2. Crawford to second, out, got them both. And Barry Zito gets out of the second and third nobody out jam.
It wasn't the cleanest of starts, allowing a runner to reach scoring position in 3 of the first 4 innings. But each time, he was able to keep the runners at bay. And as the game matured, so did he, setting down 11 in a row before exiting in the 8th with a comfortable 5-0 lead. The same score they would go on to win by.
Fly ball into left. Blanco is there. The Giants have won Game 5 and forced Game 6 on Sunday night.
Despite a clear pitching matchup which favored the Cardinals, and the game being played in front of nearly 50,000 of their fans, it was the visitors who were in control all night, allowing the series to shift back to San Francisco, and for the Giants a chance to do the impossible once again.
Showing it early. And now he swings, and that's going to plate a run. Ripped down the left field line. This ball is 2 hops, 3 and 4 to the wall. 1 run scores Crawford. Vogelsong all the way around for him out there in second. And he grounds 1 into center, a base hit. It's 5-0 Giants here in the second.
The Giants' bats came out hot in Game 6 and even hotter the next night.
Breaking ball, base hit into center. Jay comes up throwing. Cut off, 2-0 Giants. Season in general. Line drive, now it squirts by Cosma. 1 run scores. Sandoval scores. Jay drops it in center, and they're going to bring home Posey. Crawford. Chopper up the middle. Cosma will try to come home, not in time. And it's 6-0 as Hunter Pence crosses in front of the throw.
The Giants have done almost nothing wrong in the last 2 games.
Only 2 teams had ever overcome a 3-1 deficit in the NLCS, and with a Cardinals team that had Chris Carpenter and Kyle Lohse lined up to start, it still seemed unlikely that the Giants would join them. But in a clubhouse that never stopped believing, anything felt possible.
That should end it. And who else? Scudero. And the Giants have won the pennant. 9-0 the final in Game 7.
Just as they had in the final 3 games against the Reds, the Giants' pitchers were electric. But this time, they soared to an entirely new level. In the final 3 games, the staff combined to hold the Cardinal bats to an abysmal 190 batting average, struck them out 27% of the time, and most importantly, allowed only 1 run, proving once again that if their pitching could regain their elite ways, there would be no stopping them.
He went. How about Zito?
Barry Zito got the Giants started with a dominant Game 1 performance, and he was followed up by equally impressive outings from Bumgarner, Vogelsong, and Kane to bring the Giants their 2nd championship in 3 years.
Got him looking, and the Giants have won it all. This team that was down 2-0 going on the road to Cincinnati in the division series, they came back and won it. Down 3-1 to the Cardinals. They won Game 5 and won Game 6 and 7 to get here. And now it took 4 games to win the World Series for the Giants over the Tigers.
The 2012 World Series featured some of the biggest names in the sport, and yet it was Ryan Theriot who started the series clinching rally, and Marco Scudero was the one to win it, proving once again that having the biggest names doesn't always attribute to success. That's why, entering 2013 with virtually the same group, they were given 10-1 odds to repeat, the 3rd highest in the sport. But what actually unfolded was one of the most forgettable seasons in Giants history. So how is that possible? How did a team that just won the World Series, that brought back the exact same roster, miss the playoffs the very next year? The 2013 Giants returned the same rotation, bullpen, and lineup, well, aside from Mel Cabrera, who was suspended for steroids. But anyways, instead of repeating the success they had found, they finished with 18 fewer wins. And the biggest reason why was surprisingly their pitching. The 3 of Tim Lincecum, Barry Zito, and Ryan Vogelsong combined for a .518 ERA and -5 WAR across 81 appearances. But perhaps none were as disappointing as Matt Cain, who finished with a 4 ERA in 30 starts. Now, don't get me wrong, that's nowhere close to as putrid as the aforementioned players. It was, however, the most surprising. From 2007 to 2012, Cain consistently topped 200 innings per season, never missed a start, and had a cumulative ERA of .318. Not only that, the offense had holes, specifically with their depth, which became apparent after the injury to Pagan. This forced Gregor Blanco to move to center and created a gaping hole in left, which was not adequately met by top prospect Roger Kieschnick, who batted .202 with a .521 OPS in 84 at-bats. For this reason, the front office had 2 obvious areas to fix in the offseason, that being left field and starting pitching. So they got to work, signing veteran starter Tim Hudson in mid-November. The longtime Brave had been one of the most consistently elite arms in the sport, but over the previous 4 seasons, he had seen a decline in ERA and games started each year. And for left field, the club inked right-handed power bat Michael Morse, a player with 30 homer pop, but he too had seen a steady decline in each of his previous 3 seasons. These additions addressed their biggest needs. However, given the uncertainty surrounding their track records, expectations remained tempered. As a result, there wasn't much buzz around the Giants camp heading into the season. But maybe that was a good thing.
Crawford, it's one high. It's indeed. It is out of here. And we are headed home.
And everybody in this ballpark is going crazy.
They started hot in April and continued their torrid stretch all the way into June. 3.5 games up on the Oakland Athletics for the best record in the sport, and 9 up on the Dodgers in the NL West. At this point, a division victory seemed likely, but over the coming weeks, they started to slide. 3 losses in a row, 4 in a row, 6 in a row, multiple long losing streaks that saw their record decrease from a season high of 22 games over 500, all the way down to 10 at the All-Star break. They needed reinforcements and fast.
Jake Peavy, just acquired from the Red Sox, 1-9 with Boston. Got very little run support, certainly pitched better than 1-9, but as you can see, a 4.72 ERA.
Peavy was an all-star as recent as 2012, but had been struggling in the following 2 years. It was a gamble, yet almost immediately it began yielding results.
Here's Peavy again, and he strikes out Gomez. One outside this time. And strike 3. In the right sun still. And that is another strikeout. He struck out 5 of the first 8. And this crowd offering a standing ovation for this sensational performance for the veteran right-hander Jake Peavy.
Riding the wave of Peavy's arrival, the Giants were able to punch their ticket back into October baseball. This time though, they weren't entering the playoffs as World Series favorites, but everyone knew that they just needed to get into the playoffs because with the countless postseason performers on their roster, they always stood a chance.
And the curveball is hit high and deep to right field. It is gone! Brandon Crawford silences the crowd here in Pittsburgh with a grand slam.
Top of the 18th, full count. Belt with a drive, hammered to deep right field, and that one is gone! So that, friends, was no cheapie either.
And we said one swing could change the game, and of course the Giants are ecstatic. Travis Ishikawa hits one into right! The Giants win the pennant! And the Giants are going back to the World Series for the 3rd time in the last 5 years. Eyes keep darting down to the bullpen for the Giants, and that name that lurks over this Game 7, Madison Bumgarner.
Bumgarner is going to come out of the bullpen for the Giants. You hear the boos as he's announced.
Bumgarner with a 12-pitch, 10-strike, bottom of the 6th inning. 3 up, 3 down, 9 pitches. End of 7. 4 shutout innings for Madison Bumgarner. And Madison Bumgarner is back out to try to nail down the last 3 outs. The 2-2. Popped up. Sandoval in foul territory. Giants win! A World Series win for the San Francisco Giants for the 3rd time in the last 5 years. And their hero, Madison Bumgarner.
Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. If you did enjoy, then make sure to subscribe. It does help me out a bunch. And if you'd like to keep watching, then YouTube recommends this one.